Hello and welcome to the Judy Corrao Show. We're so pleased that you're with us this evening. And what we want to talk about is some of the wonderful things that are taking place in the state of Minnesota. And to help us do that is Judy Lear.
Hi.
Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Vic Rosenthal. Thank you so much for coming to the show. Talk to us about the intergenerational group of which you both are members. Vic, go ahead and talk about it, and talk about your group, which is Jewish Community Action.
So Jewish Community Action is...
And it's not let me jump back. You told me, and I think it's a very good thing, it's not a consortium, it's a... Network of groups together.
Yes. So it's a network of groups. Jewish Community Action is one of them. We're a 20-year-old organization that brings Jews together with people from other diverse communities around racial, economic, and social justice. And a number of years ago, we decided that a very important thing that needed to be discussed was how we were addressing the issues confronting older people in our society. I have a background working with the Minnesota Senior Federation many years ago. In fact, Judy and I met almost 30 years ago when Judy was on the board of the Board on Aging and I was a staff person for the Board on Aging. And so Jewish Community Action, because of our work on housing and immigration and economic security, thought we needed to bring together a network of groups that have different aspects focused on different parts of sort of what is important to seniors and others. We needed to bring these groups together in order to be able to accomplish some important things in our community.
Judy.
The Intergenerational Working Group is really a network. It is a number 7+ organizations.
What are some of the organizations that are members?
Well, Great Panthers, which I'm part of, and obviously Jewish Community Action, AARP, Children's Defense Fund, the Jewish Family Services of St. Paul, AFL-CIO retirees,
Mature Voices. I think that's major part.
Then I am a member of your group.
Yes.
And I did not know I was, and I am, because I'm a member of a couple of the groups that you just named.
Right, National Council of Jewish Women. Okay, so all of these organizations felt really that it was very important to be talking on an intergenerational level. And that's how it started, as Vic said. And we have been working tirelessly for things that affect both generations. And I'd like to talk to you about what's going to happen in the future, because we are holding 4 community civic conversations that have to do with our financial security. And it's what are your economic challenges? That's the title. And we will be having one in Minneapolis that will have already passed after this is shown. But we will have, may I just listen for you?
Sure, please.
Okay, great, because we invite everybody to participate.
Just jump right in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the 4 are, we're going to have Thursday, October 1st, and that's going to be in St. Paul. Probably a suburban area. We're going to have one at the Ridgedale Library on Sunday, November 8th, which is co-sponsored by JCA. And then in December, we will have one at Carondelet Village. And we will have these all posted.
For people to know, those are the Sisters of St. Joseph.
Oh, right. Wonderful. They will. All of these will be posted on the JCA website when we have our exact dates and times and so forth.
What do you hope to accomplish with these meetings? And tell us how you're going to get intergenerational.
Well, I think what's really important is to understand that for too long in our country, we've pitted generations against each other as if somehow it's a zero-sum game. If seniors do better, young people have to do worse, and vice versa. And one of the ways we proved that this is not the way it has to work is a couple years ago when the big debate in the state legislature was going on around minimum wage, and it was a pretty controversial issue. The Intergenerational Working Group, it still is, came out in favor of the minimum wage because minimum wage is important to all generations. We still have people over 60 that are still working, and they need to be able to supplement their Social Security that they eventually get.
Vic, just for 1 second, could you explain what wage is paid right now in Minnesota?
Well, the minimum wage was increased in 2013, and on August 1st, just a month ago, the minimum wage went up to $9 an hour. And in next year it'll go to $9.50, and then thereafter there'll be an inflationary adjustment added each year based on the cost of living.
And it's going to go up too.
Well, it goes where it goes. I mean, I think it's really important that states and local communities take action because, as we know, Congress hasn't been able to raise the minimum wage now in many, many years, and we know that the standard of living keeps going up. And so if we don't raise the minimum wage, and you may know about the 15 Now campaigns that are going on around the country, we're going to find ourselves with seniors that are going back into poverty because Social Security is not enough for them to live on. And then we have young folks who are just trying to build wealth, start families. They can't make it. Even with $9 an hour, if that's your only wage, you're going to struggle to support a family. And so the Intergenerational Working Group is really about people at different ages and different organizations. It's why a Children's Defense Fund and a AARP can come together because there's a recognition that the minimum wage has to be high enough to keep people out of poverty.
Judy, talk a bit about what you've seen at the legislature and what support that you have.
Well, because I'm a Gray Panther, and Gray Panthers are intergenerational, and we fight against ageism, sexism, and racism. So all of those things came up, whether it be with the gay marriage bill, or whether it came again with the minimum wage. And I had the opportunity there was a rally, and I had the opportunity to wear my old hat and older person's hat, and to be able to speak on how important it was for this generation.
We are a state that supports the minimum wage.
Yes.
And so it's important for our viewers to know that. We are a state that has passed the minimum wage bill.
Yes.
And we are a strong supporter of it. There are many states, largely southern states, that do not support the minimum wage. So if you're going to look at the larger picture.
Yes, it is. And our partnership with the Intergenerational Working Group is here in Minnesota, but all over the United States we are doing marches and demonstrations and talking about things like this, as far as Gray Panthers goes, as far as AARP goes, some of the national organizations.
It's very interesting to listen, and I think that that small businesses may have a point. And it's very interesting when you listen nationally to the points that small businesses are making.
Well, I
Talk a
think,
bit about that.
yeah, I mean, I think some believe that if you raise the minimum wage too high, it's harmful to small businesses because then can they pay that amount and not lose their customers? Can they afford it? I think the reality is what we know about our economic system is that when lower income people on the minimum wage get paid more money, they spend that money. And that stimulates the economy.
Right.
That's the whole point behind raising the minimum wage, is an effort to stimulate the economy. We want to make sure that people who work for larger corporations, service organizations, get paid what they need to get paid in order to be able to stimulate the economy, support their family, and do those sorts of things. And without a minimum wage increase, and I think it's still not where it needs to be. So I think all of our groups in the intergenerational working group want to continue to work for that. And as Judy mentioned, the forums that we're doing, it's to see what are the challenges that people are still thinking about.
That's what I wanted to be able to jump in and
go ahead.
say.
Judy, jump in and talk about that.
Well, I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for people to be able to share. And the way we're working these sessions is that everybody is invited to, no matter how young, no matter how old you are, to be able to participate, because the title is, what are your economic challenges? And if you talk about it on an individual basis, that's one thing. If you talk about it on a community level basis, that's another thing. And that's why we're holding these 4 in different communities all around the Twin City area. And then we have to talk about it on a national basis.
Again, talk about the dates and the times and how people can find out when you're holding them and where.
Thank you. First of all, they can go to the Jewish Community Action website, which is?
jewishcommunityaction.org.
How's that?
Very good. Excellent.
Okay, and we will be having one in October, in November, and December. Let me just say that, and so that they will be mounted on their website, so that people
Are
can
they
be able
on
to.
your website, on the Gray Panthers website?
Yes, we'll put them on our website
give
too.
us your website, please.
It's www.graypantherstwin
It's so great.
Gray.
Yes. Yes.
Panthers, twincities.org. Okay?
And we have a lot more time to spend explaining what the issues are.
Well, I think in addition to the minimum wage, back a couple years ago, the legislature passed the Women's Economic Security Act, which was another piece of legislation which our working group got behind. And it had a lot of different parts to it. I mean, it's no secret that based on the way our economy has worked over many generations and the fact that we have not had equal pay in our country, that for women there have been more challenges to have economic security. And this act had multiple pieces in it. And one of the pieces that are not done yet is to do something about retirement income.
That's
because
right.
what we know is if you live only on Social Security, there's really no way to live well. And so what we want to see happen, there's a legislation called Secure Choice that a number of groups are supporting, which is an effort to try to develop a more of a public pension program so that would supplement Social Security so that seniors and those who will become seniors, generations to come. You know, I worry a lot about that. I have a 31-year-old and a 26-year-old sons.
That's what the Social Security Act was to be.
Right, but you ask a lot of young people now, you ask them about their optimism about Social Security, and it's not great.
I know, but you know what? We're just going to have to work to keep it and increase it.
We are.
Talk a bit about what people are saying about increasing it.
To raise the cap.
Yes, to raise the cap.
The cap is at $118,000 right now of earnings. So whether you make $250 or $50,000 a year, we are all taxed the same, 6.4% from our FICA that goes to Social Security. And if they raise the cap from 118 up to 250, $500,000, 6.4% of that is a great deal more. And we know right now that Social Security is just fine, really just fine for the next 20 years, according to the Social Security, I want to say bureau, but it's not a bureau, 2035, we're just fine. And then, if nothing changes, we still will be 75% of what people will receive.
Most important thing that our viewers can do. What do you believe is the most important thing our viewers can do right now?
Well, I mean, the reason we're doing these forums is we want to hear from people. The most important thing we need people to do is be engaged. Too many people find that participating in the political system, whether it's by voting or by going to the legislature or city council or wherever, there's apathy, there is a sense of it doesn't make a difference. And we need to get people out in the community of different ages, have them talking to each other, and realize that when people come together, they can have more power, they can have a greater voice, and those who are in charge of making the decisions at various levels of government will have to listen. But that only happens. They need to vote, but they need to do even more than voting. We did not pass Social Security or do any of the other things like minimum wage just by voting. Voting is critical, but people have to do more.
Judy, I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds.
The last 30 seconds, what do I want people to do? I think I would echo, I want people to engage. I think it's really important, and I think we have a lot of issues right now where people can engage, whether it be on race relations, which I think is really important, whether it can be on age relations, whether it's old and young. I just think people need to get back together in some way. That's why I'm really pleased that the Great Panthers is part of this intergenerational working group.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet
Committee
you.
Action, thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Judy Lear, Great Panthers, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk with Miss Vanderwert, who is a school board candidate for the City of St. Paul. Hello and welcome back to the Judy Corrao Show. We're just so pleased that we're able to introduce you to Mary Vanderwert. And Mary is running right now for the school board in the City of St. Paul. And Mary, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us a little bit about the school board in the City of St. Paul.
Well, the school board has 7 members.
And how many schools do you have?
Oh, there are 85 schools.
Oh, my
85
goodness,
schools.
yes.
It's a large school district,
large
40,000
school district,
children.
yes.
I think about 2,000, I may have that wrong, the number of employees, but a lot of employees. There are 7 school board members.
All right.
And every 4 years, half of the school board is up. So this year there are 4 expired seats. So there are 4, folks will have 4 opportunities to vote, or 4 people to vote for.
Do you run citywide, or do you have districts that you represent?
No, we run citywide.
Do all of you run citywide, or just the 4 that are up this time?
Well, there are just 4 up, and everyone runs citywide.
And
there are no
everyone,
areas.
Every seat in St. Paul is citywide.
That's right.
So you represent a huge number of people, a very, very diverse number of people.
That's right.
And you just told me something very interesting. You are trying to get out and talk with, and have been talking with, as many voters as humanly possible.
That's right. Three chunks of 3 hours every week. So every Saturday, every Sunday, every Tuesday night, and phones on Thursday night. We're talking to lots of people.
They're talking, what do they tell you? What do they want from their schools?
Yeah, they're worried about the schools. They are. We've had lots of changes in the last few years, and they haven't been very happy about those changes. They weren't implemented in a way that was smooth, and the purpose not necessarily communicated very well to voters. And so they're worried about all those changes. They want their schools to settle down.
What exactly do they want?
They want all kids to do well. I think that's the common thing. Right. All kids to do well. So the achievement gap is of great concern. The amount of time we spend on testing kids is of great concern. We aren't sure that we're testing the right things. We're spending an awful lot of time on test prep and test taking, and it's people are talking about kids throwing up on the days of tests, so that kind of pressure that those things cause.
Did you ever feel that, though, as a kid?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of stress is sometimes good. It gets you up on your game, but not to the point when you're throwing up. That's probably not so good for kids. They're worried about discipline in the schools, and some of the sort of the disruptive behaviors that we're seeing, and not sure there's a real plan for all of those kids. So they'd like to see like to see us have a little bit more support services in the schools so
Okay.
that we can address mental health issues. We'd like to see more planning done for children with special needs, so those kids with special
Mary,
ed.
who funds the City of St. Paul schools? The property taxpayers do, but directly. Are you funded by bonding, and how much money do you get from the state to fund
Yeah,
the level of services that you're talking about in the school?
Yeah, I'm not. You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know that answer. I know that we get state funding, and a fair amount of the budget comes from that, and it's per pupil. So when
In
we're
the city of Minneapolis, there is a special school board funding that you vote for, a special bonding that you vote for, and I think there is in the city of St. Paul also.
we have some referendums that we've passed. They've funded the iPad implementation and some of the early childhood programs as well. So we do that. I think there's some talk of needing that again, and I'm not sure whether that is.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, well, there always is, of course, because our needs are great. St. Paul has a very diverse population. They are 75% eligible for free and reduced lunch. That tells me we've got a lot of kids who are facing a lot of challenges.
Do you then give it to everyone? Everybody in the St. Paul schools can have free or reduced lunch?
No, they're still eligible.
I just wanted, so that, yes.
Yeah, those who are eligible get it. And there's some schools where everyone is, so then it is free.
Right.
But it's an indicator of poverty, and we have a high level of poverty in St. Paul. We have a lot of kids who have not had English. We have new immigrants who are coming to our city who are teenagers and have never been to school. So teachers talk about the incredible challenge in getting them ready to graduate, because they need to graduate on time, and it's really a challenge.
Actually, your teachers are magnificent in the city of St. Paul. They are in the city of Minneapolis also. It's amazing to me the amount of work that they can do and the achievement that they can attain from their students.
That's right. I visited the LEAP school in St. Paul. It is the school where most of the students are they're learning English, but they're recent immigrants to the city, and it was a place you wanted to just stay, because the environment was just warm and inviting and very focused on learning. In fact, I think the Teacher of the Year in Minnesota came out of that LEAP school.
Oh, see.
I visited her classroom, and it was
my
just
goodness.
fabulous. Yeah.
The thing is, teachers have this enormous amount of energy that they give.
And I think that's one of the things that I'm talking with people about in my campaign, and it is about I talk about relationship. We really do all our learning in relationship, and so our school structure, the way we organize our time and how we what kind of freedom we give to teachers has to be structured so teachers can get to know their students and get to know their students' families. And once you do that, then you can start building a world.
Mary, how do you do that?
Well, I really believe in home visits for teachers.
Okay, all right.
I really think we need to have a ratio that's reasonable for teachers to be able to manage in a classroom.
How many in a classroom is a good ratio?
Well, in early childhood, it's 17 to 2, and that's good. I think
But I think your schools have about at least 30 apiece in each classroom or more.
they do as they get into the older grades, and I think up to 50 in a high school class sometimes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But in those schools where most of our kids are living with poverty, to have more access to adults, good adults who can nurture and support and encourage, we're going to do better. I also talk an awful lot about parent engagement in our schools.
Talk about that. What is parent engagement, and how much do you have? That's a great thing. Parent engagement achieves a lot.
Well, the research all says that. If parents are engaged, they're way more important than schools are, and kids will do better if their parents are engaged. So in my mind, it is starting early We have to, in our younger grades, need to be working with parents, finding out. For me, it means getting to know them, getting to know the challenges their family faces, if they have needs for stability in housing, or if they need to get their basic needs met. The schools can do referrals and can be connecting families to services in the community and keep them stable. I think we just need to build environments where parents can feel like they are welcome and wanted. And
do you have a relation, do the St. Paul schools have a relationship with your county? Because Ramsey County supplies the human services that the children in the schools need.
That's right. That's right. I think there's some collaboration. I think there could be a lot more. I think families need to be getting the same message from all their service providers, and some of those service providers need to be in the schools and be available in the schools.
The interesting thing, Mary, is that we have so many needs in our schools. All cities do in all of the U.S., and that we are not used to providing those needs.
Right. I come from the world of Head Start.
Oh, you do? Great.
I do. Yes, I've worked.
I actually do too.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Were you a Head Start child?
No.
You worked in Head Start.
Yes. At the very beginning of Head Start.
Really? So Head Start has many things figured out, and parent engagement is one of the things they've figured out. They really encourage, and they've built an environment where parents are part of the program. They're helping to make decisions. They're volunteering, but they're volunteering in a meaningful way, and they have to be engaged with their kids. So and there are staff dedicated to working with them. So answering their questions, being there when they have crises, helping them learn to really enjoy their kids, and reading to them and playing with them, and those kinds of things. So I think we can learn lots from Head Start and around parent engagement.
Absolutely. What I would love to see statewide in our schools is that the state and the federal government would provide more money for services to children and to families, because you would see a huge difference in the learning for children.
Yes.
And in the crime rate, in a number of things. If you could get parents involved and more services to children.
Exactly.
That's what Head Start had hoped to achieve.
And it has.
And it has.
Yeah.
That's right.
There are people who say it fades out, and in some cases it does. But in the long term, the Head Start kids are doing well in life.
They're doing very well in life.
Yes.
Mary Vanderwert, please tell us the date of the election.
It is November 3rd. It is. There will be
A Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. School board race in St. Paul, and then some city council races as well.
And people can find out where they vote.
I think they go to the Ramsey County website,
And they will also, yes, they can. They can go to Ramsey County website.
Right.
And the city of St. Paul, and they can find out where they vote.
That's right.
And so what I would like to do is give you the last 30 seconds.
To talk about the election. This is an important election. Our kids are the most important thing, the most important function we have in our society, and so it's important that people are engaged in looking at the issues and looking at the candidates and voting.
Mary, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us this evening. Just have a great week. So happy to be able to speak with you.